tonight's thought. Just what exactly happened between Alyssa Milano from Who's the Boss and the kid who played Rudy in the Monster Squad way back in the late 80s. The world may never know, but I think I have a pretty good idea. So, yeah, back in, I think it was 2016, my friends and I, there was me, and there was Jason, and Josh, and there was Vince, and Vince was in the wheelchair. He had just sprained his foot. And we were there waiting in line to get into a special screening of The Monster Squad at the Chattanooga Film Festival. And it was a big deal because we were there and the Monster Squad themselves were there. Well, at least two of the main cast members. This being the kid who plays Sean. He's the head of the Monster Squad. And Rudy from who's like the bad kid who kind of rides. He wears like a leather jacket and he rides his bike, and wears his sunglasses, and he smokes. He's like a 14-year-old kid who smokes, and real tough looking kid. And yeah, they're both there, and we're kind of excited because I'm not one of these. None of us are these people who go to these film festivals. We have to stand in line for hours to shake hands with the guy who played, I don't know, one of the doctors in An American Werewolf in London or something like that. We're not like that. But Chattanooga is only like 3-hour drive from Birmingham, Alabama, which is where we were. And The Monster Squad was a movie that we had all been in love with kids. It came out in 1987, and this is a movie about a group of kind of ragtag suburban kids who fight monsters, right? The conceit of the film is that Dracula has fallen into a time warp back in Gothic England, or Gothic, I guess, Transylvania, of course. And he brings with him all these monsters. And they're trying to find like this amulet of some kind, whatever. It's a MacGuffin that allows Dracula to control the space-time continuum. It's a very, very confusing plot for a kid's movie, but it doesn't matter. It's all these monsters that you love as a kid, of course. And it's a fun movie because, again, it's just little kids kind of, swearing, and they have like a treehouse hangout. And they're just very resourceful. And as kids, this was a big box office bomb when it came out, right? But as the years went on, and as in the heyday of the video store in the 1980s and 1990s, it was just one of the most commonly rented. Right? You had a spend the night party. You went to the video store and you rented the Monster Squad. Of course, it was almost always out of stock because everybody wanted the Monster Squad. So over the years, it just became quite a big what they would call a cult classic. Okay, and all of this really did hit a fever pitch in about 2016, when these guys who had played the leads in the Monster Squad. If you're watching this on video, right, you got this kid Sean. I think the actor's name is Andrew Gower. He's the one with the stake. And then to the left of him, you got this bad boy, this kid Rudy, right? And I think he was on Kids Incorporated. Remember that show where it was like a behind the scenes narrative of like a bunch of kids who hung out and sang and danced at like some kind of a kids club. But in 2016, these two guys started making a documentary about the fandom around the Monster Squad. And I suppose they were coming to the Chattanooga Film Festival to kind of drum up interest in this documentary and get some money raised and all that. So we ended up like meeting them. And we were standing in line at this screening. And yeah, there we are right there. So again, if you're watching on video, or I'll just describe it for you on audio, we got Vince in the middle. Vince is like in the wheelchair because he got a sprained foot. And there's Jason and me and my friend Josh. And bending down next to Vince on the left is Rudy, and you can see he's still wearing his sunglasses, and he kind of looks like an older version of like Spider from Goodfellas. And then on the right is Sean. So these guys are like a few years older than us, I suppose. And I think one of the reasons that they saw us standing there and they came over and started talking to us is I think they thought like maybe Vince was like one of those Make-A-Wish kids or something like that. He was just, I don't mean to poke fun at that or anything, but I mean, you see a guy in a wheelchair who's like got a perky, positive smile. You're probably going to think it's like he's got 5 days left to live, and he wanted to meet the Monster Squad as his last thing on Earth. But they came over and talked to him, and started talking to us, and they said like, "Hey, listen, if you guys want to after the movie, why don't you hang out with us? We're filming a documentary, and we'd love to get you guys on camera and talk to us." And we're like, "What? You know, like that's amazing. I can't, of course. What are you kidding me? Yes, we want to talk to the Monster Squad about the Monster Squad." And I never thought about the fact that like, oh my gosh, right, I'm going to turn into one of those guys that's in one of those Talking Heads movies about a movie. Right. It's like, you know, these fan documentaries about certain movies, they're just an hour and a half of just talking heads, people just talking about how much they love something. They're the most boring things to watch ever. And now I was going to be in one, so actually it was kind of neat. So yeah, we met the Monster Squad. We went and saw the movie, and afterwards we meet them in the lobby, and they have a camera set up. They have like an entire camera crew of people, and they give us this card here, this card that says the Monster Squad, which is a big deal. It's an actual print of the business cards that they make in the movie. It's got like this crude handwriting, like a little kid would have made this. You know, and they gave it to us. It says the Monster Squad, and it's still right here in my office. So it's a fantastic thing to meet them, right? And we're sitting down there with them, and they put us on camera, and they yell speed and then action, and they're just sitting with clipboards, got all these questions that they want to ask. So when did you first see the Monster Squad? What are some of your favorite scenes in it? You know, and they're kind of interviewing us or something, like they're war correspondents, and like we're I don't know, we have something to do with you know, Israel and Palestine or whatever. They're very serious, right? And the people who are running the cameras are like we're told that they're college students, they're film students from like the University of Tennessee in Knoxville or something. So I guess they've been contracted or whatever to be here at the Chattanooga Film Festival with the Monster Squad filming people for their documentary. And so everything goes great, and we wrap it up. We end up talking to it for about an hour or so. And afterwards, they give us these forms to fill out, just releases, which are standard, obviously, of course. And so as we're filling them out, we're a little bit kind of odded out by it because it asks for our social security numbers for some reason. And at that point, right, you've just been through like an hour and a half talking to the Monster Squad and meeting these people who you've been, you know, watching on television in various friends' houses for the last 20 years. Of course you're going to give them your social security number, so we all did it. Even my friend Josh, who's like the most paranoid person in the world, right, who won't check his mail without a background check from the postman. Right. So we were so starstruck that we just gave up anything. And this is how you understand that, right? Like people like that guy, Rudy Rudiger, who they made that movie Rudy about, right? Managed to con all these people in a pyramid scheme, and he later went to jail. But anyway, so we give them, so as we're sitting around just giving them our social security numbers and our home addresses and things like that, they, Vince gets to talking to Rudy, and Rudy gets to telling him about all of his, all the girls he dated, right? When he was like a kid star, a kid celebrity in like in the late 80s and early 90s, which is kind of the heyday of kid culture, right? You had the Disney Channel and Nickelodeon, of course. And so Rudy, long story short, got around. This guy, he pretty much dated any starlet of that time that you wanted to know about, any singer that went and sang in malls, things like that. Like Rudy got around. And Vince especially was impressed when he said Alyssa Milano. Vince is like, what? Now, of course, if you're of a certain age, right? And I think I'm a little bit too young to have had a crush on Alyssa Milano. I remember watching Who's the Boss, of course, when I was very young, but I didn't, and I guess I probably thought she was cute, but I didn't really have those, biological capacities to really recognize, what was going on with me when I watched Alyssa Milano. So, but nevertheless, Vince was blown away. It's like, what with Alyssa Milano? And he said, like, hey, what'd you guys do? And obviously Vince is asking the $100,000 question. And at that point, this guy Rudy made, I'm just going to call it a bit of a gesture. He took his like two fingers and kind of spread them out in like a V shape, and put another part of his body through that V shape. And that was Vince, all he needed. Like, he almost got out of that wheelchair and started walking. So that was, and so again, nobody really knows what happened between them. But I'm sure, I think, I have, right, like a pretty good idea. Yeah. So from Birmingham, Alabama, this is your Midnight Citizen Show. I'm your host, Mike Booty. Thank you so much for joining me tonight from Birmingham, Alabama. And we got a good show for you tonight. On top of I don't know how anything could top that story. Maybe a lot of stuff. I don't know. If you care about that kind of stuff, it's kind of interesting. But because they were very, very young child stars. And yeah, Alyssa Milano, I believe, continues to act today. I don't want to say, like, take from Rudy. The word of Rudy is not gospel, okay? So if I'm maligning Alyssa Milano in any way, I think I'm probably maligning Rudy more than anybody else. Especially since I just told you that the Monster Squad, took off with our interview and our social security numbers. Right? So if we cut to like a year later, at my friends and I go back to the Chattanooga Film Festival again. This year it's just me, Jason, and Vince is cured. He's no longer in the wheelchair. And we're there. We're there to attend the world premiere of the Monster Squad documentary. I think it's called The Wolfman's Got Nards, right? Because there's like a scene in the movie where one of the characters is like, the Wolfman doesn't have nards. He's not like a guy. Well, I mean, I don't know, but he's still a man. So they have this big debate about it. And then later on, when they're confronted by the Wolfman, they don't know what else to do. So they kick him in the testicles. And sure enough, it puts him in his place. He kind of it hurts him. And this kid goes, Wolfman's got nards, right? That's kind of amazing. Okay, so anyway, so it's a big cult catchphrase, I guess, of my generation. And so film's called Wolfman Got Nards. So we go to this world premiere screening, and there they are again. It's Rudy and the other guy, Sean, are there. They both directed the film. They edited it. They put together all the interviews. And they've had like a podcast that's gone on for the last year to promote it. And we're watching this whole movie, me and Jason and Vince, thinking that we're going to be like suddenly celebrities, right? We're going to be like the fans. Like, they interviewed us for an hour and a half. How could they not, I mean, how could they not include at least 20 or 30 minutes of the profound things that we said, right, about the Monster Squad? We watched this movie. It's like almost 2 hours long. It's a really long documentary. And yeah, it is. It's just nothing but talking heads, right? People talking about the movie. It's like, oh my gosh, do you remember that scene when, like, you know, Frankenstein went through that swamp and made friends with that little girl? Do you remember that's kind of like that scene in the original Frankenstein where he wants to throw the little girl into the river? And yeah, it's just like on and on and on. As it gets closer and closer to the end of the movie, we realize, oh my gosh, shit, we were cut out of this movie. We just came to Chattanooga for nothing. We started to feel scanned by the Monster Squad and started to feel like maybe they did indeed just, this was like a con of theirs or something. You know how like celebrities, like, right, I just showed a clip last week of Bob Crane, you know, from Hogan's Heroes. How sometimes like Bob Crane would go into like bars and have, like in Phoenix, Arizona, and like have the bartender turn the television to Hogan's Heroes, and he would just wait for like a girl to notice, like, oh my gosh, you're Colonel Hogan, and he would like just start hitting on them or whatever. Like, we were suddenly like, maybe that's kind of what the Monster Squad was doing with us, only they weren't asking for sex, they were asking for our financial information. I don't know. But so yeah, we were not in the movie. And after it's over, they do a Q&A. Again, other people just in the audience talking about how much they love the movie. And we go into the lobby and we run down Rudy and Sean, and they're like the nicest guys. But we say, like, do you remember us from last year? And like, oh yeah. Oh my gosh, guys. Oh, and they were so apologetic. They're like, oh, oh my gosh, I felt so bad. Last year, they said after we finished filming your interview, these kids that we had hired to film you set the equipment down outside of a bar. They set down all their cameras and everything, and it got stolen. And we're like, what, are you serious? They're like, yeah, man, I'm telling you, like the cameras, the mics, the memory cards with your interviews on them got stolen. So we lost that footage forever. I'm so sorry. And, yeah, okay. So I'm on my phone instantly checking my bank account because I hope that they gave these kids only the interviews and not our information. That was really a very scary moment. So many years later, I think I'm safe. But yeah, we almost got fleeced by the Monster Squad's ignorance. I don't know if I trust them anymore. It's weird. And I'm thinking about this today, right? Because this movie came on television earlier today. The Monster Squad came on one of those Pluto TV channels, and I was watching it, and first time I'd seen it probably since that night in Chattanooga at the Chattanooga Film Festival back in March of 2016. And I was watching the movie, and I was kind of like suddenly beginning to seethe in anger a little bit, right? Like, yes, Wolfman, bite that kid's nards off. hope your week's going well. And yeah, here thinking I gotta share with you something before we get into any other business tonight. That this guy, I saw this news headline right before I started doing the show tonight. And I know you're not supposed to laugh at stuff like this, but I kind of did. It said 81-year-old man accused of terrorizing California neighborhood for years with slingshot is found dead after arrest. I probably didn't punch that the way I was supposed to. 81-year-old man accused of terrorizing California neighborhood for years with slingshot is found dead days after arrest. Right? So, that's clickbait, but I feel like that's very honest clickbait because you kind of get everything you need to know in that story right there in the headline, and reading on can only enhance the experience of knowing that information. It says an 81-year-old man who investigators said terrorized a Southern California neighborhood for years with a slingshot has died just days after his arrest. The man, who was previously identified by police as Prince King, was found dead Wednesday evening at a home in Azusa, east of Los Angeles. He was found dead, the victim of apparent self-inflicted slingshot wound. No, I'm just joking. Yeah, I know I'm not supposed to joke about stuff like this, but yeah, this guy just went around for years, and he was just using a slingshot, and he was like throwing ball bearings in people's windows and shattering glasses, and I guess shooting them at cats and dogs and things like that. I wanted so much to see a picture of this guy. I didn't see a picture of him. I wanted so much to see a picture of this guy. I just really wanted to see if he had like blonde hair, like maybe graying blonde hair, kind of balding with like a cowlick, and he was wearing like overalls, and he just had like a little, I just wanted to see if he looked like an 81-year-old Dennis the Menace. I was captivated by this article. Because it's like, yeah, I mean, Dennis the Menace, what if he like never grew up, right? What if he kept on terrorizing Mr. Wilson, right? What if the article had continued to go on to say like 150-year-old neighbor George Wilson jumping for joy after hearing of the death of 81-year-old next door neighbor George or Dennis the Menace. Yeah, that would have been good stuff. Yeah. Thinking about all this tonight, the monsters, going to see like the Monster Squad, and all those years ago, it was like a bit of a memory dump. I guess you could call it nostalgia. I'm not sure, right? I am no doubt nostalgic. That's one of the reasons, right, why I created this show, is to tell stories about things that have happened in the past and try to make sense of things. And yeah, no doubt a lot of your past comes into that. That's how you gain cultural experience, right? Some people call it nostalgia. Some people call it rose-tinted glasses. I don't know. But yeah, when I think about like going to this movie, The Monster Squad, and kind of going to it with my friends, and obviously, and I think like we had a really great time, right? The one guy I'm not speaking to anymore, and it's not really, I don't know, it was just kind of, wasn't really a falling out. It's just we kind of lost touch with each other. Was Vince. And one of the movies that Vince and I 20 years ago, when we first met each other in college, really bonded over was indeed The Monster Squad. We would go to Hollywood Video and rent that movie so many times. And eventually Hollywood Video closed down and we still had the tape. See, like, that's the way that we avoided paying late fees, right, to video stores. All you had to do is just wait a couple of years and they go out of business. So that's what we did. Hollywood Video closed down. We still had the Monster Squad tape, and I still have it around here somewhere. I think I have it still, or maybe Vince has it. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's life is weird, right? How you just know people for years and years, and then they just kind of leave life altogether. In Vince's case, one of the things that we did for years, almost every time we saw each other, was we would put on this kind of late night type. It was kind of, I guess, in a way, a precursor to what I'm doing here. It was called the Midnight Citizen. It was called Creepfest, and me and Vince would be like these horror hosts, and kind of playing a little bit of heightened versions of ourselves, and just hosting, horror movies. And we started doing this before there was YouTube, so we kind of had this idea that we were going to be like on a cable access station. And sure enough, I called around to a bunch of cable access stations thinking that they were exactly that. Like, right, I'm the public, so I should have access to this public access station. No. We're showing football on Friday nights, right? So it was kind of like that, and we just couldn't get any. So the idea kind of fizzled, but it stayed really fresh in our brains for years. And then when YouTube came along, we just started doing the show and posting random episodes on YouTube. And of course, we would always get copyright struck because we would host copyrighted movies, and you just couldn't do that. I think like the only episode to this day that is still up on YouTube is one that we did. This was back in, I think, 2014. One of the last episodes we did, this was, we did the movie Race with the Devil with Peter Fonda and Warren Oates. I think we're sitting in the basement of my friend Dave's house, or his grandfather's house. His grandfather was upstairs, and then we were, he was watching, like, I don't know, Mayberry RFD or something, and we were down in the basement. We were filming Creepfest. So there we are. We're like just kind of sitting in two lawn chairs, and really cold day outside, and you can see like the two windows behind us. Those are obviously, that's not really a set. That's just a bunch of junk we found down there, and we kind of threw it together. And it looks like a very cold February day behind us. And so, yeah, we're out there, or down there, and we're filming Creepfest. We're talking about Race with the Devil. And, yeah, I can play some of this. See if I can get sound on this. The trustable,
the
crustable.
Himself, the captain.
Oh, yeah, and there's Jason. Remember him from the Monster Squad. Jason always played the chef. He would like be this lazy chef who would never cook us any food.
He just created that.
But he wore like the big hat anyway, the big chef hat.
So what are we doing tonight, Mike?
What are we I thought I'd pick tonight's movie. We got a great one from the 1970s. Race with the Devil. You heard of this one? It's good. It's got dirt bike exploitation, RV exploitation. It's got Satan cults. It's got exactly. It's got two great actors, Peter Fonda and Warren Oates. Warren Oates, one of my favorite actors.
I love Warren Oates.
Great character actor. He's in Bring Me the Head of Alfredo Garcia, Stripes, and you're gonna love him in this movie. So we gotta.
Mike.
Yeah.
Just so you know, I had a feeling it was gonna be like a '70s show kind of theme. So I broke my '70s gear here. You like this? I got a little '70s action. You like that?
You do kind of look like a rodeo there.
Hey, I like that.
Nice.
Like a rhinestone cowboy.
Whatever. So buckle down. We got a great movie, and you know what goes with every great movie?
What's that?
Great food.
Oh, food.
Food.
Hey, what you gonna do tonight, chef?
I'm going to make dastardly deviled eggs and devil's food cake.
Deviled eggs and devilish food cake. That's more of a side dish and a dessert.
No. He's right. The chef is right. It's a theme because we're doing Ride with the Devil.
Yeah.
And we're going to be doing devil's food cake.
Well, I understand, but there's no entree, and I was told to not eat today, so I'm expecting an entree.
Well, no, I mean, we got beer, we've got good times, we got Sammy.
Every time he lets me down, I'm just saying.
Who? The chef?
Yeah, a little bit.
Don't listen to him. Look, guys, enjoy it. We'll be back. We'll catch you at the first break. It's going to be okay.
I'm hungry.
You know, it's funny watching. This is the first time I watched this in years. So this is 10 years ago now. But even then, like, we were, right, we were in our, I guess, I'm younger than both Vince and Jason. So I guess I was at that time 31 years old. If this was 10 years ago, right? Yeah, because I'm 41 now. And just thinking about the fact that it looked like we were having a good time with the show, but that we had conceived of the show some 10 years earlier. So it was an idea like we were guys in our 30s who were still sort of like acting like guys in our early 20s. And there was a bit of a depressing thing about that, because it's not like we would do Creepfest every day or every other week or something like that. Vince, very early on in us talking about Creepfest back in 2005 or 6 or whenever it was, moved to Los Angeles. So he was here in Birmingham, and then he moved to Los Angeles to become an actor, and had a number of years there where he was getting a lot of extra work, and he was on basically every HBO show that was filmed, and he's still out there today. But every once in a while he would come back because both of his parents were here, his mom and dad. And so he would come back to visit, and every time he would do that, about every 2 years or so, we would just film another episode of Creepfest, because it's just what we did. It was like breathing to us. Like, Vince is coming back, let's get back into it, right? And eventually, in 2014, I think it just kind of got to this thing where what are we doing? Who are we even making this for? We know we're going to put it on YouTube and it's going to get taken down. Who's watching this, right? But again, so essentially what you were watching is really like kind of, I think, the ultimate form of just creative expression, right? Just doing something and then lighting it on fire, and just letting it burn up, because that's all that exists, is just the making of it. That's the art, I suppose. I guess maybe you could think about it that way. I don't know. If you want to, right? But 2014. So that was like well into me doing this show, The Midnight Citizen. And I think one of the reasons I did this show is because I enjoyed, obviously, the idea of doing like kind of a nighttime kind of cable access type show. And I just didn't want to have to wait for my other friends to come to it, for all the stars to align in the universe, right? To kind of do this kind of thing. So I think that was it. And I haven't seen Vince in 2.5 years. He's out in LA, and I wish him the best. Every once in a while I'll try and text him, and as will Jason, we'll try and like kind of bait him, right? He's like that Grendel, right? That lives in the swampy mirror of Los Angeles, California. And try to get him to come out of his cave and say hello. But I think in less than a year, Vince's mom died, and then his father died, and then he just didn't have a reason to come out to Birmingham anymore, and so that's why we lost touch with him. So if you're listening to this episode, Vince, stay through the music break. I'm going to do a toast to. I usually do a toast to dead celebrities, but I may just have to do a toast to you, because I don't know where you are. Okay. Right? Yeah, I think like the last time I saw him was at his father's funeral, and me and Jason had stayed with Vince at his father's grave after the rest of the party had left, and we were just kind of standing there, and it was very cold. I think it was a cold January day. And we were just kind of standing there, and it's like breezy, so like the ties that we were wearing kind of blowing around, and it's like a scene from like The Big Chill or something, right? These three old college buddies come together for something sad and tragic, and Vince is just kind of waiting there, and we're sort of giving him his time and being respectful, and letting him pay his respects, and suddenly the funeral director kind of comes up to us, and he's like, help you boys with something? And we turn to him. It's like, well, we're just waiting for our buddy. And then Vince says, like, so what happens now? And the funeral director's like, pardon? And Vince says, like, are we going to bury him? And he's like, what do you mean bury? And Vince is like, well, I thought maybe we could get some shovels and we could throw that dirt in there. And the funeral director's like, we don't really do that kind of thing anymore, son. You know, Vince was always a guy who was just trained and educated on movies. It was like everything was kind of a movie scene to him. And as I guess it is with us all, right? All of us who didn't grow up in ages of war and great strife. And we were sort of confined to going to the video store and renting movies like The Monster Squad. And that's how we built our knowledge of heavy events, right? Like death and funerals. And at that point, Vince is like, so what happens now? We don't get shovels. What happens now? And the funeral director just kind of like nodded right off in the distance. And we just look over, and there's just like this giant backhoe that starts kind of like coming over the horizon. And at that point, it was definitely a scene from a movie, if there ever was one. Right. All right, with that, let's take a little bit of a break here and play some good music. Coming up, we got a couple of tracks from some bands. I'll do that, and see you back here in about 8 minutes or so, okay?
sound of your house. Call out the sound of your curtain. Call out the sound of your house. Call out the sound of your curtain. Of your curtain. Of your curtain.
Does not scare me, St. John's Cemetery. The streets were paved with pride and prayer. We walk from St. John's Cemetery. And here we see the crowded graves. They spread the word of God. It doesn't matter what they say. They all say pray for us. Say pray for us. Pray for us. And only active mind could make one wary of St. John's Cemetery. But only at that time could death have scared me, St. John's Cemetery. And there was something on the trees that we could not touch. The breeze was rustling through the leaves, and all the rest was hush, hush, hush. Pray for us. Hush, hush, hush. Pray for us.
And couple bands there you just heard. St. John's Cemetery was the name of the track. Secret Lover was the band. And Garden Sounds by a band that I played on here before, Lobo, Loco. And all the music that I play on here, including the music I'm playing right now, is a backing track. You can find over at the freemusicarchive.org. Everything you can use there to play on your own shows, stuff like that, as long as it's like A, non-commercial, and B, you give them credit, which I just did over at the freemusicarchive.org. And a reminder, this is the Midnight Citizen Show, a completely non-commercial venture hosted by me, Mike Booty. And you can find this show as well as my back archive and other stuff that I'm doing. I'm, any writing that I'm doing, any video editing, video work that I'm doing, you can find that over at mikesbonfire.substack.com. And, really important, subscribers, if you subscribe to my Substack, and it doesn't cost you anything at all, there are no tiered memberships, it's not paid. I don't have enough over there right now to ask you to pay me anything, and I have a lot over there. I just, what I'm doing right now, I just want you to have it. But if you really do like the show, then please subscribe to it. And if you want to give me a comment, please give me a public one so other people can see what you think, right? And if you subscribe to my Substack, and this is important this week, right? You not only get the show that I'm doing right now, but you get the pre-show as well as the post-show. Before I started recording tonight, I recorded about 25 minutes of stuff of me getting ready for the show and talking about other stuff. Doing, if you just can't get enough of me, Mike Booty, and the Midnight Citizen Show. Subscribe for free, and you will get a free file, which is a video file of like the entire pre-show, actual show, and post-show. Okay, so that's this week, and maybe I'll continue doing that. I don't know. Let me know what you think. Is that a good idea? Should I keep doing that? Okay, and I'm also over at the Overnightscape Underground on onsug.com, along with a lot of other great hosts like me. Okay, so yes. I have something special planned tonight. I usually, while I'm playing music, I take that opportunity to go to the bathroom and get myself a drink. Tonight, I did not get to go to the bathroom because, what can I say? Like, the summer in Birmingham, Alabama, in the hot South, it starts in the middle of like January, and it doesn't let up until sometime in early December. So these days, right, I mean, it's difficult to go to the bathroom sometimes, especially at night, because you're just dehydrated, and there's really honestly nothing to give it, right, to get rid of. Okay. Yeah, the rule down here that you got to keep in mind is you got to be peeing clear. That's what they say, peeing clear, right? Go into the bathroom. If you get to pee, that it's clear pee. You're peeing clear. Okay. It's like Scientology, but not cult-like, just health advice. Okay. So there you go. But in addition, right, as I said, to go into the bathroom, I also like to make myself a drink. Tonight, I thought I would actually do that on the show because I've been excited lately. I usually enjoy whiskey. And lately I've actually been making, because it has been hot, and you kind of like, whiskey's a hot drink. I've been putting some ice in it, and actually been mixing it a little bit. And I've been making what I learned are whiskey sours. Okay. I thought I invented a drink. It's apparently not. It's called a whiskey sour. And so I thought I would make a whiskey sour tonight and toast. Again, I normally toast a dead celebrity, but tonight it might be Vince. I don't know. Who's not dead, but I just haven't seen him in a while. I don't know if I ever will again, but anyway, so let's make a whiskey sour. So the first thing you need for this, right, is you need a double jigger of whiskey. In this case, I've got some Bullet bourbon here, bourbon whiskey. So I'm going to pour that. Get some whiskey making music here. And shoot, just dropped my syrup. So I'm going to pour that into the mixer. And then I'm going to get about 1.5 ounces or so of lemon juice. So we're going to do that. 1.5 ounces of lemon juice. Pour that. And then, and this is what I thought was especially clever on my part, but it's not. It's been done before. You get maple syrup. I'm almost out of maple syrup, but I'm going to do the best I can with what I have. Some maple syrup, and put that in there. Sir. Yeah. Do I have enough? This is an experiment. I've never made a drink on the show before, so we just thank you for bearing with me. So we got Bullet bourbon, we got some lemon juice, and some maple syrup, and we're going to take this and we're going to shake it over ice. Here's to all my sweethearts, okay? All right. Got this, and we're just gonna strain that into a rocks glass. There it is. We got ourselves a whiskey sour. I've been making these for my wife Jessica lately, and she never really drinks whiskey that much, but she just loves her whiskey sours. I don't know if it's like a typical Southern drink or whatever. My desk is all wet now. Well, I guess that's technically a wet bar, isn't it? Okay, yes. All right. So we're gonna toast here. Vince, I don't know, maybe. Here's to you, buddy. Yeah. Okay. I did recently hear, by the way, okay, this is really shocked me, this celebrity death, that Morgan Spurlock died at 52. Morgan Spurlock is the director of this movie that came out, this documentary that came out about 20 years ago that was a really big deal called Super Size Me, where he made this decision to, for 30 days, eat nothing but McDonald's. And he had all these rules. He said if they asked me to supersize it, I have to say yes. And he wanted to see how America specifically was killing itself on fast food. He basically took this premise that everybody already knew, and he just showed you what you already knew. But it was a big deal, though, when the movie came out. And I actually did meet him, just like the Monster Squad. Just like the Monster Squad. He didn't take my social security number or anything like that, but no, he came to my college, and with his movie, and he did a screening of Super Size Me, and did a Q&A afterwards. And I got to meet him, and I was working for the student newspaper, the Kaleidoscope, and I had to get like a brief quote from him. He was an incredibly nice guy, and yeah, and then after that, he just kind of vanished. I think he did like a few documentaries after that, but he never really had the success he had with Super Size Me. And then apparently last week he died, 52 years old. I didn't realize how young he was. I mean, yeah, when you're 21 years old, everybody seems older than you, right? But that's about when I met him. But yeah, it's 52. I think he died of cancer. So we'll drink a toast to Morgan Spurlock and Vince, right? Actually, I think Vince was there with me when we met Morgan Spurlock, and I remember Vince telling Spurlock the story about how like he had rented his film. He's like, I rented Super Size Me, and I watched it on a date, and on that date, we didn't make it to the end of your movie. I'm sorry, because we were, you know. Morgan Spurlock, okay, thanks, dude. Thanks for telling me that. Talking about movies, man, almost everything we talked about tonight's about movies, right? Should just rebrand the show as a movie show. No, I don't want to do that. I'm interested in more things than movies. I do find it interesting. I did go to the movies last weekend to see. I saw the new Mad Max movie. This movie, Mad Max, or I think it's called. The official title of it, I believe. It's like these days you need Cliff's Notes to like pronounce these titles. They're so freaking long. I swear they're built by algorithms. It's called Furiosa, a Mad Max saga. Okay. So That's kind of an annoying title. Especially, yeah, because this is a prequel. Again, you have nothing but prequels these days. You know, we got to see how the movie started. Okay. This goes back to Star Wars, I guess. This is a prequel to the film that came out, I believe, in 2015 called Mad Max Fury Road, which was a big surprise hit. Obviously, it had been the first Mad Max movie since, I think, the movie Thunderdome in 1987, actually, same as Monster Squad. It always comes back to Monster Squad tonight, right? As a side note, do you feel like the year 1987, there's something interesting going on there? Because last week, on last week's show, I talked about the movie Whitewater Summer with Kevin Bacon and Sean Astin, which also came out in the year 1987. And there was something that was going on in Whitewater Summer where Sean Astin was playing like this archetypical 80s cool guy. You know, with the, all you had to do to like be cool in the 1980s is talk with like a slightly slow accent that kind of inflected. It's like, hey, what's with this guy? Right. And you had to wear Ray-Ban sunglasses and a Hawaiian shirt. And that's all you needed in the 1980s to be cool. And that's what movies told us. And I think a lot of people kind of affected that look in the 80s. And that very much was the look of the late 80s, was kind of these like bright floral looking, like everybody looked like they were going to the beach and they were wearing sunglasses. And that was just like the look of kids, especially in the 1980s that I remember. Because I was very young in the 80s, but I do remember that look quite a lot, especially like in culture, like in movies like Whitewater Summer and even Monster Squad. I just feel like there's something going on with the year 1987 where it almost is like a parody year of the previous 80s. Everything up until the 80s seemed kind of sincere and genuine. Like if a kid was cool in an 80s movie, like you think like Spicoli, it was an actual coolness that they were projecting. I think because of Sean Penn being a good actor, manages to like project that kind of confidence. That's there were in movies like E.T. especially, you know, you had these ragtag kids befriending this outcast monster, who's an outcast just like them. And in the Monster Squad, that's like the same thing that happens, is these ragtag kids that befriend Frankenstein's monster. And there's even a scene in Monster Squad that mimics the one in E.T. where the kids are walking with their backs to the camera off into the sunset down a suburban street. Yeah, like my point is like the 1987 especially seems like a turning point in movies where everything stopped becoming really sincere and just becoming kind of like a parody of what had come before it, or like an unintentional parody, if that makes any sense at all. Yeah, 1987. I'll keep looking into that for you and start building like a file base, and I'll get back to you on that. But yeah, this guy this week put out this video, which I found was interesting. The title of the video is called "Our Movie's Over." The maker of the YouTube video, I don't know his name, but his YouTube channel is called Serial at Midnight, and he has like 39,000 people who have watched this video in the 4 days he's posted it. So a lot more people are paying attention to him than they are me. So you may have already seen this video, but he brings up some interesting points. Some of the things that I find that my friends and I are talking about quite frequently. Whenever especially we go to the movies, like last Sunday, you know, we go to see this movie Mad Max Fury Road, or no, it's called Furiosa, a Mad Max saga. Sorry about that. And this is the opening weekend. This movie has only been in theaters for a day and a half when we go see it Sunday afternoon. And, we're expecting the theater to be packed. We get tickets like hours in advance. There's 8 people in this movie theater on a Sunday afternoon. And we're thinking, okay, maybe, well, this movie's not this particular theater. It's not an IMAX. People want to have a cookie these days. They want to have a cookie. They want to go see an IMAX movie. if it is an IMAX. No, that's not the case. The movies, the totals came back. And this movie was a huge flop. And it's just like earlier this summer, this other movie that was supposed to be a big hit, also Fall Guy, take off of like that 1980s television show. Who was in that show? Was it Steve? Steve? I don't know. I can't remember. Lee Majors, I think it was. He was married to Farrah Fawcett. Yeah, that was supposed to be a big opening, and the movie just flopped so much so. Like, it wasn't even like a dead fish. Like, dead fish actually kind of like show signs of life. This movie just like hit the theaters, and 2 weeks later it's in streaming. You can watch it at home in your living room, right? So we're sitting there watching this Furiosa movie, and I'm not going to review the movie. Short story, it is very good. It's a really good revenge film. It manages not to tell the same story over again. The first Mad Max, meaning the one that came out a few years ago, had really amazing stunts, and I think a lot of people who didn't like it globbed onto the fact that the movie was being marketed as 100% practical effects. I haven't been able to find any marketing at all that says that it's 100% practical effects. Yes, of course, just like any movie today, there is digital trickery in these films. But it is notable though, like if you see this movie, like a Mad Max movie of today compared with like, say, the Fast and the Furious, Fast and the Furious is like 10% practical effects, meaning like you see Vin Diesel or whoever get into the car. And after that, it's like just a bunch of, it's a video game. And yeah, when we were watching this Mad Max movie the other day, we were really blown away because you could really see, you could see it. I mean, it's really just, that's why you go see these movies. You want to see good car stunts, right? And they had that. And on top of that, it was a pretty good story. Just the background of, what's her name? Impetus Furiosa, played by Charlize Theron in the first movie. You kind of get to see how she loses her hand and what her whole revenge story is, blah, blah, blah. I know that I'm not selling it very well, but it does, at the end of the day, we were very engaged by the movie. It's got a lot of really good performances. They've got this Chris Hemsworth, who's fantastic in the movie. He's a great villain. That's kind of the mark of a great action film, is you have a great villain. And you just got Chris Hemsworth in this movie, who plays like the best kind of villain, which is one who's not very sure of himself and is not sadistic just to be sadistic. He's just very insecure. And he's a broken man by the end of this movie, who, she still decides to get revenge on anyway, even though he's like such a shadow and shell of himself that he is at the beginning of the movie. That's the best I could say of it, right? So, yeah, but we see this movie in a very empty theater on Sunday and kind of talking about it afterwards. And we have a lot of the conversations that this guy, this Serial at Midnight guy has. And I'll play a little bit of this video just to kind of give you an idea of what he's talking about. And then I'll sort of respond to it some. But yeah, I'll put a link to the video in the show notes if you want to watch the full thing. Let me turn that music down.
Now listen, I'm not talking about film as an art form that's been around for roughly 130 years or so. I'm talking about movies as a part of our culture, movies that have a foothold in our society, movies as a preferred, chosen art form for the masses. Movies were always a great equalizer. The rich, the poor, everyone sat in that theater with strangers and had this experience. That seems to be in serious danger. It seems to be in rapid decline. I'm not saying that no movies make money anymore. Some movies do make money. I'm talking about the interest in movies in general in our society. I feel like movies are now competing.
Yeah, this is something that what he's goes on to say here is the fact that movies do make money, but they don't make as much money as they used to be because they're not as relevant in the conversation anymore. You know, when people go see movies, they want to have conversations. They want to be able to talk about it. It's like a common interest that they have. And, you know, now because culture is so spread out and so disparate. And, right, I saw the other day that they were wrapping up the 3rd season on this Child's Play, on this Chucky show on NBC or Peacock or whatever it's called. I had no idea the show was even on. Like, how do you even find out about this stuff anymore, right? So everybody's watching different shows and talking about different things. And it's really difficult to sell people, like a mass community of people, on the idea of seeing one thing at one time in one place, right? And yeah, that's definitely what happened. You know, the other thing that goes on is last summer, you know, you may remember, there was a big hit. There were 2 huge movies in the theater at one time that seemed to actually piggyback off of each other. So much so that it was given a name. It was called Barbenheimer, right? You had the Barbie movie and you had Oppenheimer. And I saw both of these movies because I wanted to see them. And what happened was that both of the respective studios had pumped billions of dollars, probably collectively, into marketing these 2 movies, into movie trailers, into television ads, into social media ads. At the end of the day, it didn't matter. What mattered was a couple of people posting pictures of ironically going to see the lighthearted, fun, cute Barbie movie, and then the dark, brooding science epic about the guy who invented the atomic bomb. Okay? J. Robert Oppenheimer. So, haha, it's very funny. Okay? Well, all of a sudden, you know, you had that post get traction, and to the point where Greta Gerwig, the director of Barbie, and the star of Barbie, Margot Robbie, were posting pictures of them going to this movie. So my point is like the entire marketing strategy of these companies failed in comparison to just some people on social media. So, you know, it just had this like social media push, this movie, these 2 movies, and that's what made them the biggest box office successes of last year. You think of like Greta Gerwig's last movie, Little Women, didn't do that kind of business. Christopher Nolan's last movie, Tenet, definitely didn't do that much business. It almost got him kicked out of Hollywood because of how much he spent on the movie compared to how much it made. It was just this flash in the pan zeitgeist moment that had nothing at all to do whatsoever with ads telling people to come see the movie. It's going to be a good movie. No, it was just some kind of ironic game people played. And yeah, like when I was watching Oppenheimer, I saw people in the middle of that movie come in from the Barbie screening and sit down just so they could, like, I guess, take a picture and just say that they did the double feature. So all the people were buying tickets to Oppenheimer. I don't think they were actually seeing it, right? Which is okay. I saw it. Whatever. That's another story. So yeah, and I think like any other movie that you look at that has had major success, right, of the last few years, you can owe to something that's other than just the traditional way of getting people to movie theaters, which is like trailers and television ads. Okay. And newspaper ads. Yeah, right. Forget about it. That's funny. So you think about this movie Top Gun Maverick that came out when was it, 2022? This movie had been filmed before COVID and it had been delayed because of COVID. And suddenly there's this narrative that starts to mount while COVID is going on that, oh my gosh, I just want to be in a movie theater with people again. I just want to experience a movie with a big community of people again. And no doubt a lot of these people were being genuine. And if you do remember the summer of 2020, the highest grossing movie for like a couple of weeks was Jurassic Park, right? Because all these drive-ins were booking Jurassic Park. And so, for the first year and for the first time ever, we had a movie be the number one box office gross, right? Almost 30 years after it had come out. So when Top Gun comes out in the summer of whatever it is, 2022, it kind of had this built-in narrative behind it, that people were just so ready to get to the movies again. And so Top Gun was kind of the only game in town. And so that's one of the things that propelled it forward, right? It had the other advantage of actually being a good movie and word of mouth just kind of mounting at how good it was. And that's why I saw it. I had no intention of, never been a big fan of the original Top Gun, but right, I went and saw it with my dad and just was blown away by it. It was a great experience, right? But yeah, I think like unless you have that these days, this kind of component, this X factor that goes beyond traditional marketing and advertising, you could be the best movie in the world. I just don't think you're going to make it, right? So, oh, I'm sorry, Serial at Midnight. Did I interrupt you? I apologize. Let's go back and see what you have to say some more. I'm going to fast forward a little bit. He says something interesting. I don't know. Maybe we're out here. I don't know.
In the art by taking what would
you know just how time consuming it can be.
Add.
Been a movie, and I've talked to multiple creators. This is not some weird theory. Multiple filmmakers that I know had an idea for a movie, a 90-minute movie or a 2-hour movie, and the studio said, well, we see an 8-episode streaming series here. And they say, it's a 2-hour film. There's not enough story for that. And they say, we'll stretch it out. We'll figure out a way to stretch it out and pad it. That's what's filling our screens now. That's what's filling our minds. That's what's replacing the movie experience, the cinematic experience. It's been watered down. It's been cheapened. And audiences are just moving on to other things. Not all of them. You and I, if you're a supporter of Serial at Midnight, if you subscribe to Serial at Midnight, you know I love movies. That's what we talk about here. We talk about physical.
So, thank you. Yeah, I just think that what he said there is absolutely right on the money, is that the experience of going to movies has been completely watered down, especially for younger people. They absolutely have no interest anymore in something that they can watch at home just as soon as they can go. And I honestly think a lot of this is being driven by other factors as well. When I got my driver's license, when I turned 16 in the year 1998, the rate at which people were getting driver's license, right, when they as soon as they turned 16 was something like, excuse me. The rate of people who were not getting their licenses when they turned 16 was something like 24%, and now it's upwards of 35 or 36. So kids are not driving as young as they used to, as much as they used to. And it's partly due to the fact that all of their entertainment is just anything that they could possibly conceive in the world that they would be interested in is right there in the palm of their hand. And for women too, as a matter of fact. Yes, I just made a masturbation joke. But yeah, they've got their phones, right? So they can watch anything that they want. And it's right there. And they don't have to get in a car. They don't have to drive to a movie theater. They don't have to sit there for 3 hours past an endless onslaught of trailers and paying endless amounts of money for popcorn and Coke and soda and all that stuff. And it's just not a viable option for them anymore, right? And not only that, but they also feel, and having, again, remember, I come from an education background. I am a teacher and I do work with younger people. I hear a lot of them talking about how they don't feel like it's a complete story if it's only 2 hours long. They want stuff to be 8 hours, 10 hours, 3 seasons long, because they grew up with that as a narrative formula where you're not just learning about one person, you're learning about, right, their friend's backstory and their mom's backstory. And they have 3 different series that go into the backstories of all of their pets. Okay. It's the idea of their entertainment has just been watered down to something that is designed to keep them clicking as long as possible. Now, again, I think what he says later on in this video, this Serial at Midnight fella, which he kind of looks like a werewolf, if I'm quite honest. That's okay. I'm sure I look like something too, but you know, kind of looks like a werewolf. This guy. Anyway. So, yeah. What was I saying? He goes on to say other stuff. Okay. Anyway. So I have to say that, I don't know if I were 20 years younger, if I would have gone to see this Furiosa movie. I would have just waited until Monday comes along for the box office results. And I would have been able to see an article that says Furiosa box office flop to stream next week on HBO Max. And that's all I needed to know right there. I just would have waited, right? In the same way that we used to wait, you know, we used to say, I'll just wait for the dollar theater. I'll just wait for VHS, right? You know, but again, it was harder for us back then, of course, because we had to wait, you know, it would take, you know, a while, a very long time for them to manufacture tapes or for movies to leave the first run, no matter how big of a flop they were. And so, yeah, there was very much an immediacy of an urgency, right, to go to the movies. And if a movie was a flop, then that generally meant that there was some kind of flaw with the actual movie, that it wasn't a good movie, or that maybe it was too smart for audiences. You know, audiences weren't ready for it. It was ahead of its time or something like that. But a lot of times you would get movies, okay, like that would genuinely build up a word of mouth. They would actually be given a chance. And, that's the thing with this movie Fall Guy, is that people are starting to say, this is a great movie. I haven't seen it yet, and it may be a great movie, but people are starting to say this is a great movie. And it's a shame because the movie just was not allowed a chance to build up an audience to get that word of mouth. So it is a sad point in our culture right now, where we can pretty much just expect that if a movie doesn't have some kind of factor, that is just comes out of nowhere, right? That's not a strategic marketing scheme hatched by a studio, you know, it's most likely just going to be completely disappear from memory, which means ultimately, you know, I believe could lead very well to the, right, to the death of theaters. It could happen. I mean, how much did that AMC that I went and saw that movie at last week with my friends, how much were they paying staff? Probably not that much, right? But maybe $15 an hour. Well, I paid $15 for my ticket. Okay. And, you know, so, and I think I maybe saw 6 or 7 people working at that theater. There's no way the movie theater was making back the money they were spending to show Furiosa Mad Max Saga, right? So yeah, of course, movies are on their way out. It was fun while it lasted. And well. The good thing I will say is I think filmmakers are still trying, right? The filmmakers are still trying. Like this George Miller, what is this guy, like 75 years old, and he's making better movies than these filmmakers half his age who are like making Marvel movies, right? Yeah, I heard I'm mean on these Marvel movies. I heard these actors who were in this latest Mad Max movie felt unsafe. And I don't know if this is just something they kind of like randomly said in passing, but the newspapers really went along for the ride on this one. They were like, Anya Taylor-Joy felt unsafe. You know, trying to make George Miller, I don't know, seem like a bad director or insensitive or something. I don't know. I mean, the guy made a movie for 9 months out in the desert of Australia. And this is an actress who's always worked in air conditioning. So I don't know. If she felt unsafe, it's because maybe that's what was meant to happen. I don't know, to get that performance. I don't know. All right, let's take a break. Let's go down to the Video Street Video Store, see what they got down there, check out their latest stock, and I'll be back here in about 12 minutes.
Who has once again promised us something spectacular. Super Dave? Super Dave, are you almost ready for today's stunt?
Yes, John, I am. And I'm getting ready for what will probably be my most spectacular stunt.
Is it going to be even more impressive than when you tried to mate with a blue whale?
Yes, absolutely. You know, I've been a stuntman all my life, and even though I take every precaution necessary, the thing that protects me most is my incredible sense of what's going on around me. Call it karma, call it vibes, call it ESP, call it what you will. The point is that I sense danger and react like a cat.
So, how do you use that special sense this evening, Super Dave?
Well, as you know, John, I've caught bullets with my teeth, but I did that stunt with my eyes open. I've developed my sensitivity to a point now where I feel confident enough to perform my stunt today with a blindfold. It's a very difficult stunt. I've never done it with a blindfold before, but God is with me, and I hope everything will work out fine. It's an extremely bright day today. As you can see, I'm squinting, but with the blindfold, that won't be a problem. So if you'll bear with me now, I'll get in position, and thank you. All right, guys, prepare the blindfold. John, what they're doing now is they're putting the blindfold on up a little higher if you can. They're putting the blindfold on so I will not be able to see anything. Louis, if you'll pass your hand in front of my eyes. Okay, I can't see anything. Okay, do you have my visor closed? No. Okay, thanks, guys. All right, now what I'm going to do, I'll have to ask for quiet from the crowd. I appreciate that this many people showed up today for this event, but I'm going to have to ask for silence because the timing of what I'm doing now is very key. Now, it's all between me and the man in the crane, and don't do anything until I say go. What they're going to try to do is crush me with an 11-ton metal... I'm okay. I had a problem. This is not an excuse. Super Dave doesn't make excuses. But it wasn't the blindfold that did it. It's just that what I arranged with the guy who was running the crane, what I was supposed to do was I was supposed to put my visor down, then lock into the wall, and then he wasn't supposed to move the ball until I said go. Wait, I didn't mean go. Get this off of me! You weren't supposed to do it until I told you. God, I'm in pain. Get this off! Oh, I need help! Help me, Sonny! Sonny! Sonny, help me! I have to go to a hospital. I shouldn't have done this. I can't believe the guy in the crane. Take it easy, Sonny. I'm in a lot of pain. Everything's broken. Drive real slowly and don't do anything until I say go. Sonny, I'm not ready. Sonny, listen to me. Oh. Well, John Biner, I'm sorry this didn't work, and I'm going to have to cancel my appearance at your birthday party Saturday where that elephant was going to step on my nuts.
Hi, I'm Michael Jeffries, and we're at the Desert Hot Spring Spa in beautiful Palm Springs. As a professional magician for the past 16 years, I've seen firsthand the powerful effect that magic can have on the opposite sex. On this video, you'll see as we took a group of non-magicians, people who have never done magic before, taught them the tricks, and then brought them to a nightclub, Zelda's Beach Club in Palm Springs, and let them loose. So let's watch now and see as they flirt with magic. Hi.
Hi.
Need a light?
Sure. Thanks.
You're welcome. I couldn't help but noticing those eyes, those lips, that cigarette. Sorry. Watch the cigarette. 'Cause all I need you to do is blow on the cigarette when I count to 3. Watch. 1, 2, 3, blow. Look, gone.
Oh my God. So what else can you make disappear? Well, I'm waiting.
Good evening, ladies. Welcome to Zelda's. Thank you.
How you doing? Ooh, wow, check this out, man.
Whoa.
Watch this.
I don't know, guy.
It worked before. Hi. Well, here we are in beautiful, windy Palm Springs with Shirley and Lori, and we're ready to learn the first magic trick on the video, the one you saw me do in the nightclub, Hot Match. To do Hot Match, you'll need a couple of props. You'll need some matches, scissors, a safety pin, and a rubber band. Cut off the striker from the box of matches, but hang on to the matches because you'll need them. What you'll do is you'll take one of the matches, place it inside the striker, fold the piece of striker over the match like this, take the safety pin, open it up, place it inside the striker like this underneath, and then close the safety pin. Okay? Now this brings up a good point. If I were to do it this way, I wouldn't be able to safety pin it inside the coat. So you want to make sure to turn it around and have the safety pin part up. Okay? Once you have it like that, close the safety pin, take the rubber band, and wrap it around the match. And what you really have there is a portable lighter. And this, of course, goes inside your coat. And let me show you what I'm talking about. Meredith? Meredith is here, and as you can see, she is fully prepared. There's her match. Her striker's all set. She was in action. She would just pull down on the match, and it would, of course, light. If it didn't light for some reason, Meredith here, being a Girl Scout, is fully prepared for just such an emergency. And that's always a good idea to have extras. Thank you, Meredith. And that is Hot Match. All right, it's time to learn trick number 2, vanishing cigarette trick. To do this trick, you'll need a pen, a safety pin, and a piece of elastic. The first thing to do is cut the elastic so it's approximately 12 inches. Then the next thing is to take the safety pin, attach it to the end, and tie a knot. Take the other end of the elastic, feed it through the pen cap. Now what you'll need to do is I used an ice pick, poked a hole in the pen cap, then fed the elastic through, and then tied a knot. All right. You'll also notice that the pen cap is broken off there, the little thing that you clip to your pocket. You won't need it for this trick, okay? You also won't need the pen, so you can place that somewhere, Shirley. I'll take the cigarette. Now, this gets safety pin inside your jacket. So, Laura, you've got the jacket there. Shirley, safety pin it right if there's a little tag with the price, not the price, the, the size on the back right there. That safety pin there. Now, when the cigarette vanishes, it's going to go up your sleeve and it'll end up right here, hanging from your coat. So put the coat on, but as you do so, I'm right-handed, so I'll be placing the cigarette inside the cap of the pen with my right hand. So I grab the cap with my left hand, and I put my coat on, feeding the pen cap into my left fist, and I hide it with my fingers. Now, you don't want to have anybody standing to your right because they'll get a glimpse of the elastic against your wrist. So kind of, if I was going to do this trick, I would do it to Lori. And what I would do is I would take the cigarette from her, as I did in the bar, place it inside my fist. Now, what she doesn't know, and I'll pull this up so you can see it, I'm really feeding the cigarette, lit end first, into the pen cap. Once that gets in, if I push just a little farther, it becomes locked in place. That's not going anywhere. That's how you want it. The lack of oxygen inside the pen cap will, of course, extinguish the lit cigarette. So, to make it vanish, what do? I release my grip on the cigarette, and of course that'll cause it to shoot up my sleeve. Except if I do it just like this, I have no cover. So there's where some flirting comes in. That's where I want to make a cute remark, ask her to gently blow on the cigarette. As I do that, I place my other hand over the cigarette for cover. I let go, you blow, and I can even now pull my sleeve back to show that nothing's there. I open my hand, the cigarette's gone, and she, of course, is amazed. And that's the vanishing cigarette trick.
Oh, hey. Sorry. Was trying to get that trick to work. It did not. It did not. Welcome back to the Midnight Citizen Show. After a series of great, I think those were some of the best videos that we've ever shown on the Video Street Video Store. I want to remind you that you can, if you have an interest to, find those videos in long form. You can actually, that was not the full video of that flirting with magic that I just showed you. That was a much shorter version. And what I've been doing is I've been actually taking the entire videos, editing them into extended collaborations, or I guess you could say collections, right? With other videos, and putting them on as the Video Street Video Store, and it appears every week. I release them every Tuesday over at mikesbonfire.substack.com. I just really burned myself with that match, trying to flirt with magic. It's more like you're flirting with disaster. You know what I mean? I better stay out of the bars with this. I love that last video, the flirting with magic, where that's the guy, that's the world's biggest nerd, right? I think he would probably get more women if he just explained the magic tricks to them, rather than just doing them, because he looks like a real big douchebag, honestly, just performing those tricks for these like women in bars. And that video obviously is today completely irrelevant because you can't really even smoke anymore. It's actually the social stigma of smoking in public has especially gone down. I've noticed declined recently, and you can't do it indoors anymore, certainly, anyway. So they're talking about going up to women in bars and kind of lighting matches for them and saying, blow on my cigarette to make it disappear. And I love in that video how every time the guy would make a joke that was sexually innuendous, he would just kind of look at the camera and be like, they know what I'm talking about, right? So that is the Video Street Video Store, and the first video we showed on there, of course, was Super Dave Osborne, whose real name was Bob Einstein. He was, of course, the brother of Albert Brooks, and I listened to, I should say, this week, kind of had this reckoning with my past in a way. Sometimes you go for years, you don't really think about like who was a great early influence on you and put you on the path to not necessarily like your success or your career or anything like that, but just your general sense of humor. I think obviously like a lot of people my age who grew up on The Simpsons, but also I had this big early in life realization that I really liked the comedian Albert Brooks. Nobody else my age knew who he was unless they were like really big film fans or really big comedy fans, and they knew movies like Lost in America, or they'd even seen some of his early Saturday Night Live short films and things like that. And earlier this week, I listened to that Mark Maron's podcast, What the Fuck? And he was interviewing Albert Brooks. And this is not a recent thing. I think the interview took place last November. And there's an entire documentary that came out about Albert Brooks last year, so I guess he was promoting that. But just to listen to Albert Brooks talk about his career and also to make jokes, and he has that very dry sense of humor, I just had to go onto Facebook and I just had to say this guy, I just realized, is probably the single greatest comic influence on me. Just in terms of what I find funny, my sense of humor and things like that. And the whole family's funny. His brother, Bob Einstein, who recently died, I think he's most known in recent years as playing Marty Funkhauser, of course, on Curb Your Enthusiasm. But obviously, like a lot of people, like especially my age, grew up seeing him on television doing like those wacky comedy stunts. Obviously, a spoof, a takeoff on Evel Knievel, and then there was a cartoon of him. So very, very popular with people in my specific age group, I think, and maybe a little bit older. Kids today would have no idea who he is. Super Dave has not stood the test of time at all. He has not transferred into pop culture currency with the younger kids these days. Maybe I'll create a TikTok account just so I can start sharing Super Dave videos. It's not because he did anything that was like particularly cancelable or anything like that. It's just it's like he just was doing these little bits and he just stopped doing them. And it wasn't like he was still doing Super Dave up until, a few years ago. And in a lot of ways, I think it's sad. That's why Albert Brooks is kind of, tapered out with younger generations as well, because, he always made movies, not really for younger kids, but his movies definitely, were always there. And you would see them, movies like Lost in America, like I said, and, Defending Your Life. But then he played the role of a fish, in Finding Nemo. And now I have a little bit of currency with kids. I could be like, oh, Albert Brooks is one of my favorite comedians. Who's Albert Brooks? Did you see Finding Nemo? He played that fish. Oh my God. Yeah. The clownfish, it's like, yeah, he's a pretty brilliant comedian too. It's like, oh yeah, well, I like that scene in Finding Nemo where, anyway. So, but at least he has that. So anyway, so yeah, I had to play that. I should have played an Albert Brooks video. But I don't know. I was going through the internet and I saw Super Dave and just had to kind of do it. So, you know what I mean? Had to kind of do it. Yeah. Anyway, if you're watching on video, I just did that, flirting with magic look. Okay. So there it is. All right. Yeah. All right. All right. Well, finally, at last, I think I've had enough of a whiskey sour and a water that I hear the bathroom calling. I should have gone during the Video Street Video Store, but I think I'm going to call that a show. I hope you enjoyed this week's show. Thank you so much for joining me. If you are not subscribed already over at mikesbonfire.substack.com, remember that if you do subscribe, you will get this week's complete show, meaning the pre-show, which is almost like 25 minutes long, so it's almost like a whole other show unto itself. You'll get this here show that I'm doing, and you'll also get the post show that I'm about to do for like a few minutes until I have to go to the bathroom. So I hope you enjoy that. Thank you so much. Other stuff, just reminding you over at the Substack, really quickly before we go. It's been a lot of fun so far this summer. I've been posting 2 things regularly each week in addition to this here podcast. I've got the Video Street Video Store. As I said, we're now on the complete episode 2. So each week I, take the videos that I played on the podcast that week and I stretch them out. I make them a little bit longer if I didn't get to show the entire videos. And I also attach generally 2 more videos to that. So you're getting like this really cool long collection, anthology of videos that are a lot of fun. And I'm also writing a newsletter attached to that, giving you a little bit of background on the videos. It's almost like just Time Life or something, right? Yeah, so you got that, and that comes to your inbox every week when you subscribe to Mike's Bonfire, and all that. And also, every Thursday, I've been publishing a series called Small Town Summer, some short fiction that I wrote back in lockdown of 2020 about life in a small town in Alabama, a place called Viscaga that I made up. And it's really good fiction. I if I do say so myself, it's really, I am proud of it. I'm actually very proud of it. And I've taken it out. I've dusted it off. I've made some revisions here and there. And I'm putting them out there for you. And everything, of course, is free to read. So please, and listen to and watch and all that. And this is what I've been doing since I, lost a job a few weeks ago and all that. So anyway, but yeah, go over there and check it out. I hope you do. I hope you enjoy it. And I will see you. I'll see you next week, right? I'll see you in the night. Keep your eyes open.